And with that, we can get the meeting started. Today is May 16th, and this is the meeting of the Development Authority of the City of Alpharetta. Uh, What we'll do this first time, since we have a new member, we'll start from this way, so that you can go last. But we'll do a roll call, starting with Morgan. Just introduce yourself briefly.
DC Morgan Smith, glad to have you here.
David Chatham, good to see you.
Joe Bernard, welcome.
Jack Nugent.
Sean Allen.
John Goss.
Guys, it's happy to be here. It's happy to be back in council. For those of you who don't know, I was mayor pro tem for the city from 2007 through 2015, and I was city council from 2001 through 2007. I was on the development authority. Before that, I was on the planning commission and also Fulton County Planning Commission back in the old days when dinosaurs still roamed the earth. But I am happy to be here, and I think there's just some really good things, a lot of great things when I was on council came from our development authority with some really bright people. So a lot of stuff you see today started with this group.
Very good. With that, we are 7 for 7 now for the first time in quite a while. So we're happy to have everyone here. Briefly, our statement of purpose: the Development Authority of Alpharetta is granted the powers and jurisdiction through the State of Georgia General Assembly and a resolution adopted by the Alpharetta City Council on September 3rd, 1996. The function of this authority is to promote the public good and general welfare, trade, commerce, industry, general tax base, and the employment opportunities available in the city of Alpharetta. So with that, we have our consent agenda. Does anyone have any comments on the minutes from February 21st? Any motions?
I make a motion to approve the Development Authority meeting minutes from the meeting of February 21st, 2023.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 6 for 7 with DC Aiken abstaining since he wasn't a part yet. So thank you. So they're approved. And next on the agenda is a discussion of the conflict waiver for the Development Authority. We actually have two. We have two conflict waivers regarding our representation. So, Greg, would you like to address those?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Each of the conflict waivers authorize the law firm of Girard and Davis, which is the city attorney for the city of Alpharetta and general counsel for the Development Authority, authorizing a joint representation of both entities in connection with, as one conflict waiver provides, a local jobs program and a funding arrangement for that between the city and the Development Authority. And the other conflict waiver relates to funding arrangement for Tech Alpharetta. Again, a funding arrangement where the city is providing funding for some of the operations of Tech Alpharetta through the Development Authority. I'll be happy to address any questions.
Thank you very much. Charlotte, with Lance not here, do you have anything to add?
I do not. This is the same set of conflict waivers that I believe you all approved a year ago. And this has also gone before the city council. They approved both waivers, their versions, authorizing Girard and Davis to represent both them and you all.
So with that, I think we're ready for a motion on the first one. which would be the conflict waiver for the Development Authority in the City of Alpharetta for the Jobs Creation Grant.
I would move approval of this waiver.
I second.
All those in favor? That's 7 for 7. And with that, we're ready for to make a motion on the second conflict waiver for the Development Authority in the City of Alpharetta for the partial funding of Tech Alpharetta.
I'll make a motion to approve the second waiver.
I second.
All those in favor? With that, both motions are approved. Both conflict waivers are approved. Next on our agenda is a workshop item, just the Development Authority financial update. Charlotte, would you like to walk us through that?
Sure. Good evening. In your packets, you'll see the financial management report. This was prepared by the City of Alpharetta's financial department. This was sent over to us in the last week of April, and it covers the period, the first 9 months of the fiscal year ending in March 31st, 2023. I believe that aside from the monthly spending for the Tech Alpharetta program, no other funds have either come in or been spent. So I will give you all a moment to review it, and I just wanted to present it before you and allow for any questions you might have about the different accounts and where that money is going.
Charlotte did look into one number for me just on the, it's page 5 of 6 of the financial management reports. There was $1,091 due to other funds, and it's apparently an intra-city kind of holding transfer, and that'll be cleared up with the next quarter.
So that line item is a little bit unique. The way you all fund Tech Alpharetta is a little bit twofold. One being the $96,000 that the city sets aside that you all authorize, and then that goes in monthly payments. Tech Alpharetta also then separately is provided the building by Public Safety outside of the Development Authority. That's that building that they're in behind the fire station. But then Tech Alpharetta also has maintenance costs, so janitorial services and other things. That is not something that is shouldered by the Development Authority directly, but in order for the functioning of an entity to be in a city building and for those costs to be paid, they're billed to the Development Authority, and then the Tech Alpharetta pays back the Development Authority every month. So that is a rotating account that is a little odd. That's the only one like that in here.
Any other thoughts, comments, questions? All right, well, thank you very much, Charlotte. And next on the agenda would be the amendment to the intergovernmental grant agreement between the Alpharetta Development Authority. It's the local jobs grant program, and that's one that we've had around for a while now, and we haven't had any takers on it for quite some time. But it's kind of a use it or lose it scenario where the dollars are there if new jobs are created. And do you want to walk us through it, Charlotte, or?
Sure. So my understanding is that in 2013, this was initially created with the Development Authority to create the jobs grant. This incentivizes employers to come and create jobs in the city of Alpharetta at a certain price threshold. So I believe it's the the salary needs to be $100,000 a year or higher. And those residents, it needs to be a resident of the city of Alpharetta that is employed. A new job needs to be created, and they need to be employed for a minimum of 1 year to then receive those funds. This is similar to something that the state of Georgia has. They have a jobs creation grant that offers $250 to $500 for jobs created in the state of Georgia. And a number of different municipalities will offer something similar. To my understanding, this is not only something that we will advertise to potential employers, but it's something that our partners, so Georgia Power and the state of Georgia's Economic Development Department and a number of other entities that would represent us when potential employers come to them, it's something that they talk about and bring to mind as an incentive that a business would receive or could receive for coming here. So when we prepare requests for information or proposals that we get requests for information from the state, we will prepare all of the different incentives, this one being one of them. There has been a couple of instances where this money has been used in the past, and a number of businesses have told us that this was something they took into consideration when they chose to move to the city of Alpharetta. Within the last year and a half, I don't believe we have received any applications to use this money, and it could be that these businesses aren't remembering to do so, or that the jobs that are created are not at that threshold. But either way, it is a great advertising incentive for these businesses, and I'm happy to take any questions on it.
I believe the number is 37.5 we still have left. Is that
It's 32.5.
32.5? Okay.
Is there a minimum number of employees minimum to be able to apply for it, and a minimum of number of grants that they can apply for in a given particular time?
There is not, and Kathy could, there's not a minimum job creation number. They do need to meet the same criteria that is with the state incentive, but they can apply to both this one and the state. I believe the state will pay out sooner as those jobs are created, whereas ours requires 12 continuous months of employment. And it's a one-time grant, so it can't be that they come back and apply multiple times. But they are allowed to apply for, if they create 3 jobs at this quality level, or if they create 300 jobs, they can apply.
And just for DC's benefit, I guess it was 2 years ago, I think we amended the grant to allow for Tech Alpharetta to also be able to apply, the members at Tech Alpharetta, but at a lesser level. I believe the grant is $500 per employee. With Tech Alpharetta, I believe that number is $250. So, okay.
Is the $500 the same amount as when it was created in 2013, or has it been adjusted? And I guess the follow-up question to that would be, how is that competitive with other areas? Is 500 competitive?
So I'm not sure, and James, I don't know if you have the answer to this. Is that the case that was 500?
So when this was originally created, it was a $500 allotment. So that has not been altered since the start of the program.
But my understanding is that this is the same amount that the state offers. And one of the representatives from Georgia Power told us that, to her understanding, we were the only municipality that matched the amount that the state offered. So I do believe it is competitive. So to clarify, this also comes up every year because the our fiscal year runs from July 1st to June 30th. So our fiscal year is going to expire, and so in order for this money to be available for the next fiscal year, we would just need a reauthorization. But if we wanted to make changes to that, that's something that we could also do as well.
The data points of no changes in 10 years and 27,500, which is about $2,000 a year. If I love the fact that the city offers it because I do think it's competitive and it's a great selling point. But if we want efficacy, also we probably ought to look at some data and say, what's the threshold for efficacy if we actually truly want folks to get the money, right?
And we also have the economic strategic plan that we're working on, so they're going to have some recommendations as a part of their study. So that may be something that comes from that study that we can consider.
That'd be great.
So at this point, what we're looking for is a motion to approve the extension of the program for the next year. Is that correct, Greg?
That's correct. It's to extend it for 1 year to maintain the funding the city has provided.
I'll make a motion to approve the amendment, the Fifth Amendment to the intergovernmental agreement of the Alpharetta Development Authority to extend for 1 year the local jobs grant program.
Second.
All those in favor? That's 7 for 7. And with that, that concludes our new business. And but Kathy is here to give us an update on what's going on.
And
in
you're
the city.
actually going to hear from me instead of Kathy, so you're just going to hear a lot from me today. So you may have noticed Lance is not here. He is in Europe on his honeymoon, so I have told him that not to check his emails. He has been enjoying his life. You know, he might be live streaming him and 80. I can imagine that would be a possibility. And then usually we would also have Karen Cashin, the CEO of Tech Alpharetta, providing an update. Karen is also out of town. And Deborah Lanham, who is the president of the Alpharetta Chamber and the head of the DTA, the Downtown Initiative, she is currently running an event, the chamber event at the Hamilton across the street, and that is the Women Excelling, the WE event that they have started up. So they both send their regards, and they'll be here our next meeting in June. Both of their, as a preview, both of their funding agreements will be on that agenda as well. So I just have a couple of updates from the city in terms of some of the things that have been happening in economic development. Movius has moved their global headquarters from into Alpharetta's Sanctuary Park. We've also had a new restaurant open. There have been 2 new ones. One is Yumbi, a Asian Mexican fusion, and then the popular Inman Park Middle Eastern restaurant Del Bar opened their Alpharetta location last week on Old Milton Parkway. The first week of May was National Small Business Week. The majority of Alpharetta businesses are small businesses. So we did a feature of a different small business every week or every day of the week. We went in and interviewed some business owners and managers about their different businesses. We're hoping to make that a regular series. There is some more travel. Go ahead.
What was it that you did with that information?
So we posted that on our social media, on our Twitter and our LinkedIn, and also tagged the businesses. But we are open to any suggestions on other ways to feature. Also, I believe the city has a weekly newsletter, and we started for the first time having a new restaurant feature list. So if you look the second Friday of every month, you'll see now the new restaurants that have opened up. So we're trying to do a little bit there to also support some of the small businesses in addition to the large employers. But yeah, if you have other ideas on how we can use that information and spread that material, it would be great. We have some more travels coming up. Kathy just came back from a North Carolina trip. Kathy, Mayor Gilvin, and Councilman John Hypes joined the Greater North Fulton Chamber and 30 business and government leaders on a trip to North Carolina, where they met with Raleigh, Cary, and Research Triangle Park leaders and talked about regionalism. Kathy, did you want to give any kind of updates on that? And then Kathy will also be going with Lance to Boston in June for the International Bio Conference to encourage life sciences in our industries.
Thank you, Charlotte. So that trip to Research Triangle Park was really eye-opening to see how the different cities work together, because with which Charlotte mentioned, regionalism. There was actually the city of Roswell had representatives with us, as well as Johns Creek. And what's really been worked great for Durham and Cary and the surrounding cities is working as a team on some of the projects, because if each one of them does well, they all do well. So I think there's some initiatives that will come from that as we continue to work with our neighboring cities, City of Milton, Johns Creek, and Roswell, to try to build that synergy between all of the businesses. And by talking about that, we looked at, the life science companies that City of Alpharetta has, around 10 different life science companies, medical manufacturing. And when you put that with the other cities, Roswell as well as Johns Creek, it's just more momentum to advertise the life science industry that we have. So I think that was really good for all of us to work together and go on that trip. Also, if you're in Cary, North Carolina, you've got to go look at the $68 million park that they're building in their downtown on 7 acres. Pretty incredible, $68 million. So it was worth taking a tour to see some of the different projects that they put money in order to spur economic development. And that particular project, the $68 million for the downtown park, was to try to get more development in their downtown. So there's a lot of things that you learn. The other thing that was really interesting is the amount of money that they put into their incubators. And there's a lot of state funding, of course, for startup companies. So Alpharetta has always been first with supporting innovation. And of course, I think 2012, with the support of Tech Alpharetta, that's something that's not a lot of other cities have done. So it really moves us forward, and we could see by visiting Research Triangle Park that that's something the investments have moved them forward. I'd also add just quickly, it was interesting to look at that office park because it's very similar to the Windward Office Park, more of a suburban office park, and some of the initiatives they had about putting what's called a hub and the box yard, and it's where they found locations where it's within walking distance to some of these large office campuses, where it could be this gathering place with restaurants as well as entertainment. So it really brought amenities to that existing office park. So I think that's some ideas that we brought back that we'll look at with Windward as well as the Brookside area. Another interesting part of that is the state actually gave free rent for a year for those restaurants so that they could, have a good place for the startup. And they've had 2 award-winning restaurants that have come from that. So of course, if restaurants do well and you help and amenize, then of course they want to pay rent and stay. So a lot of things that we learned. So.
Do you have any idea what the source of that $68 million was, and like what they were using it for?
Yeah, so that was a bond that was approved for the downtown park, and it was pretty incredible because it had a small event facility that was attached to it. They also had a dog park. They had a dog park restaurant that was part of it. They had some elevated trails, all in 7 acres. So of course, they're attracting a lot of investment close to that park, and that was their goal, is to try to get more investment in the downtown. One of the things that, we saw a lot of different great parks and different initiatives that they have. one of the things they don't have is a good road system, like we have Georgia 400, so they don't have that connection to the Raleigh area from Cary. So it's good to learn and to, make sure that we build on the strengths that we have and then learn what our weaknesses are. They also don't have an airport that has the direct flights, of course, like we have. So they were fantastic hosts. It was a great learning experience. So I think more of these economic development tours, at least once a year, that we're looking at touring, we take away a lot from these.
Great. Does anyone have any questions for Kathy about her tour or her upcoming trip to Boston? Otherwise, I'll continue on with the update. I did. I just mentioned it, but. So we've got some other ongoing studies and initiatives. The Windward Technical Assistance Panel with the Urban Land Institute occurred on April 24th and 25th and 26th. So they brought 15 different experts in real estate business, financing, development, and architecture to the city of Alpharetta. They were here for 2 days. Member Morgan Smith joined in the interviews, and Chairman Jack Nugent joined in the dinner that they had after the first night. They came up with a preliminary plan for the 62 acres of that Windward Terraces, Windward Plaza area, and they presented that to economic development and planning staff as well as Mayor Pro Tem Merkel on the end of the second day. And we're expecting a full written up report sometime in late June. At that point, they'll also present to the Development Authority, so they'll present their findings to you all once they've got that, and then it'll also go before council. So that was fantastic. It was really eye-opening. We also got to touch base with a lot of different experts in the region as they came and spent some time in Alpharetta and in Windward in a less active part than our downtown in Avalon. We also have the Windward LCI going on. That is in partnership with the City of Milton and the North Fulton CID for the Windward Corridor and Highway 9. Next Wednesday, May 24th, from 5:30 to 7:30, there will be a community meeting. The first community meeting will take place in the Greater North Fulton Greater North Fulton Chambers offices at 10,000 Avalon, Suite 100. So there will also be posts on the city and economic development social media for that, but that is open to all if you all want to show up and provide any input into the ongoing plan. There will be other community meetings down the line as well. We also have a City Agriculture Implementation Committee meeting. Member Jill Bernard and I are both on that and working to prioritize the different suggestions that came out of the city agriculture plan that was approved by council in December of 2022. A city communications plan is also coming together as part of an ongoing study. So we're in the process of auditing all city communications and devising a plan to make a more uniform and strategic method of communication through our different channels. And then the economic development strategic plan is wrapping up. We're expecting a presentation to go before council in late June or early July as well. And I think that's it for economic development updates, so I'll return to you, Chairman.
Do you know if there's anything going on with Bailey Johnson right now, or do you have any updates on those existing projects? We also had approved the bond finance on, or the approval of considering the bonds for North Point. So any update on either of those?
Sure. So Bailey Johnson has their permit now. So they're actually installing the sewer line. So that's the first step that they had to go through, was a sewer line extension for Fulton County. And they are in for permitting for the actual building construction. They submitted the plans for the parking deck as well as the renovation of the existing building. They haven't submitted the plans for the new building. I think it was 110,000 square feet, 150,000 square feet. but they have submitted the plans for the renovation of the Bailey Johnson School. So they do have their land disturbance permit. With the sewer line installation now, the next step will be to install the tree save, as well as the silt fence, and then you'll start to see some more work around the perimeter and some grading. Also with North Point Mall, so North Point hasn't submitted anything to us yet. We expect it will be at least 4 months before we see anything from North Point Mall. They do have a new group that they've put together, so we expect to see something within the next couple months. We stay in constant contact and communication with them. And
Thank
then
you.
was that the only two? Okay.
With that, I think we've concluded everything, but any other items for discussion? We never did get a chance to do our tour. So any thoughts on that?
So I'd be happy to send out a doodle poll if you all are interested of some possible dates and times, and you all can fill out with your availability, and then we can schedule a tour from there, because we'd be happy to do so. We actually had hoped that last month's meeting, because we didn't have any items on the agenda, we'd be able to take the tour during that time, but we were not able to secure a bus driver. So we ended up canceling, but I'll circulate a poll to gather availability if you are all interested.
Sounds good. Any other thoughts, questions, comments? With that, I guess we can adjourn for the day. Thank you very much to everyone.